We're talking Blake Lively receipts and her updated lawsuit that she just posted last night against Justin Baldoni. We're going to talk about the marketing right now. So in the lawsuit, it states this: leading up to and in connection with the release of the film during the summer of 2024, Miss Lively and fellow cast members promoted the film in accordance with the marketing plan created and delivered by the film's distributor, Sony, which is summarized in the talking points attached. Miss Lively and other cast members were under a contractual obligation to engage in media, press, marketing activities, and render promotional services in accordance with the marketing plan. The marketing plan directed the cast to focus more on Lily's strength and resilience as opposed to describing the film as a story about DV, and to avoid talking about this film that makes it feel sad or heavy. It's a story of hope. It goes on to say that Wayfair actually endorsed this plan. In an email to Sony on August 11th, Mr. Heath described the marketing of the film to date as brilliant and fantastic, and noted that they are not saying it's been inappropriately marketed in any way. In the days leading up to the film's release, Mr. Baldoni abruptly pivoted away from the film's marketing plan and the types of publicity activities in which he had previously participated. What the public did not know was that Mr. Baldoni and his team did so in an effort to explain why many of the film's cast and crew had unfollowed Mr. Baldoni on social media and were not appearing with him in public. To that end, he and his team used domestic violence survivor content to protect his public image, as described in further detail. Other cast members saw and observed Mr. Baldoni pivot as it was happening. For example, a female cast member lamenting to Miss Lively in a text on August 10th that Mr. Baldoni's marketing pivot was jeopardizing the success of the film, and said that the pivot would not work because it would eventually come out that Mr. Baldoni was using domestic violence commentary to cover his own behavior. What the public also did not know was that this was the beginning of a multi-tiered plan that Mr. Baldoni and his team described as social manipulation designed to destroy Miss Lively's reputation. That plan was backed by virtually unlimited resources. Wayfair's co-founder, co-chairman, and leading financier is multi-billionaire Steve Sarowitz, who divulged to a witness at the film's New York premiere on August 6, 2024, that he was prepared to spend $100 million to ruin the lives of Miss Lively and her family. Now it goes on to talk about Mr. Sarowitz. It says, that was not the only time Mr. Sarowitz made such a threat. Later in August 2024, even though the film had turned out very well and Wayfair had made a lot of money on it, Mr. Sarowitz confessed to another witness, an individual who was working with Wayfair on an unrelated project, that if Miss Lively or Mr. Reynolds ever cross the line, ever, then I will go after them, he declared. I will protect the studio like Israel protected itself from Hamas. There were 39,000 dead bodies. There will be 2 dead bodies when I'm done, minimum. Not dead, but you're dead to me. So that kind of dead, but dead to a lot of people. If they ever get me to that point, then I'll make it worth their while, because I'm going to spend a lot of money to make sure the studio's protected. Supported by Mr. Sarowitz's financial backing and militaristic worldview, Mr. Baldoni and his Wayfair associates embarked on a sophisticated press and digital plan in retaliation for Miss Lively exercising her legally protected right to speak up about their misconduct on the set, with the additional objective of intimidating her and anyone else from revealing in public what actually occurred. On July 31st, 2024, following the recommendation of their publicist, Jennifer Abel, Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni retained a crisis communications specialist named Melissa Nathan and her company, The Agency Group. Miss Nathan delivered a proposal to Mr. Baldoni, which included a website, full Reddit, full social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything, engage with audiences in the right way, start threads of theories. This is the way to be fully 100% protected. And this is all quotes from her document. Ms. Nathan also proposed the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change the narrative and stay on track. All of this will be most importantly untraceable, she said. As Miss Abel described it, the plan was to engage in social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative as well as social manipulation. This went well beyond standard crisis PR. What Miss Nathan proposed included a practice known as Astroturfing, which has been defined as the practice of publishing opinions or comments on the internet, in the media, etc., that appear to come from ordinary members of the public but actually come from a particular company or political group. Now I'm going to read you a footnote at the bottom of this page because I think it's very important. It says, Miss Lively obtained the communications set forth in her original complaint through legal process, including a civil subpoena served on JonesWorks. So JonesWorks was the company that Justin Baldoni was originally with because Jennifer Abel was working there. Now she was fired by the owner of JonesWorks, who is Stephanie Jones, who is now also suing Justin Baldoni. Continuing on. In statements to the media and in public filings in this court, certain of the defendants and their counsel have baselessly claimed that Miss Lively or her counsel engaged in criminal alteration of these materials. So as you know, that was one of the big things that Justin's team is saying, is that when this was released to the New York Times, that they altered the documents. This is false. JonesWorks produced the communications to Miss Lively in connection with a lawful subpoena, and the documents included within this complaint are attached in the format in which they were produced subject to the subpoena, with limited redactions of names and phone numbers to protect third-party privacy. At all times, Miss Lively has understood the produced documents and communications to have been lawfully obtained, maintained, and produced by JonesWorks. Miss Lively included all excerpts of communications as produced, which on information and belief were produced in the data extractor's program, default font and format. Then it goes on to say that this is why the emoji that they were so concerned with was excluded. It's because of the format they used. Images such as emojis, when available in a preserved screenshot, for example, were attached as produced. Okay, now we're going to get into the scenario planning document that Blake got through the subpoena. On August 2nd, 2024, TAG circulated a scenario planning document to Mr. Baldoni, Mr. Heath, and others, which described preparations and strategy should Miss Lively and her team make her grievances public. And it's also attached in here as well. To get ahead of this narrative, Miss Nathan's plan proposed strategies to advance misleading counter-narratives, including pushing Miss Nathan's narrative that Miss Lively had a less than favorable reputation, proposing to explore planting stories about the weaponization of feminism, and misleadingly blaming Miss Lively for production members' job losses. Now, they do include a text message for this that I'm going to read to you. This is between Jamie Heath and Justin Baldoni, and it looks like Justin Baldoni says, "Morning, not in love with the document they sent. Not sure I'm feeling the protection I felt on the call." And Jamie Heath responds and says, "This is the first time I've personally gone through scenario planning with them, so I think let's let them discuss the thinking behind the document and the actual process and protocol of how they implement these things. That's the most important part of this, is how quickly they can shut things down and place stories in your favor. Be honest on this call and let's give real feedback to each point." And Justin responds saying, "Yeah, just feels very much like there is not much defense, and also them feeling strong, like she's going to do something just a bit concerning what everyone had originally thought." Up next is the text messages between Jennifer Abel, who's his publicist, and Melissa Nathan, who's the PR crisis manager. So later that day, they text the following, expressing that Mr. Baldoni wants to feel like Miss Lively can be buried. Miss Abel and Miss Nathan agreed that, of course, they would do just that, but could not say so in writing. "We can't write it down to him. We can't write, 'We will destroy her.' Imagine if he documents saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands." And then Miss Nathan follows up by saying, "You know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him." A few days later, on August 5th, Mr. Baldoni set the narrative for the social media campaign by sending Miss Abel a screenshot of a thread on X that had accused another female celebrity, Hailey Bieber, of bullying a woman. And Mr. Baldoni stated, "This is what we would need." His publicist responds saying that she and Melissa had just talked about it and says, focus on Reddit, TikTok, and Instagram, with reassurances that Miss Lively would be destroyed and buried. Wayfair and Mr. Baldoni directed Miss Nathan and her team to actively engage in their retaliatory social manipulation campaign. Up next, we're getting into Jed Wallace, who they say weaponized a digital army against her. Go check out the next video.